Hi everyone, this is Kate Warnock coming back from MediFuture. I'm here right now with Mr. Suresh Kumar. Suresh is a partner with Oliver Wyman Group, and we're so happy to have you here in the GuideWell Insights Lounge. Welcome.
Kate, delighted to be here.
Well, we're
thank you for having me.
We are happy to have you. Suresh, you have an amazing background. You have worked with governments and global enterprises to drive strategic growth. How has this experience influenced your work now in the healthcare industry?
In a very profound way. Immediately prior to joining Oliver Wyman, I was the Assistant Commerce Secretary for this country, and that raised what I knew to an entirely different level from a very different perspective. I'd shared, of course, spent 30 years in the industry as an executive at Johnson & Johnson, Warner Lambert, running global businesses. What both these experiences together demonstrate is there's profound change happening, and the need for companies, institutions, much of the people in the auditorium today, in the rooms today, the need for them to collaborate in establishing an ecosystem. And nothing shows that better than in the government role, where you are working with disparate companies across the value chain, helping them connect to markets globally. And the need to collaborate is so profound. And that's going to be the key perspective of which I brought to this current role. And this is what we are trying to influence across the value chain in healthcare, to get more innovative folks connected with each other, connected with goings on, not accepting the status quo, and collaborating to change the ecosystem in how we deliver care to the patient to have a better experience.
So Suresh, you have such that unique background to bring your, to really help frame up what the challenges are here. One of the criticisms, I think, that a lot of people feel of the healthcare industry is that it is so fragmented. Maybe it makes sense for the United States to move to the single-payer system. In your experience and with this worldview that you have, do you think that the U.S. will ever move to a single-payer? And if not, why not?
That's a loaded question. Never say never.
Right.
But I don't think the question is not whether we move to a single payment system, but it is the type or the quality of care we continue to deliver. The outcomes which result from our interventions in healthcare. How does the patient benefit? That's the key. Right. So if you look at the single payment system which you talk about, what is it? In essence, it's basically one public institution being responsible for all of the funding, but delivering care through private enterprise.
Right.
So, and there are different forms to this. You can take this in the UK, where healthcare workers actually work for the government. Or you could take it in Canada, where the country and its health entities contract out to private suppliers. Or even in this country, you're asking, will we ever move to a single payment system? The state of Vermont is to move to a single payment system in 2017 because they had that vote in 2011. So it's not whether the move to a system will help. What is really relevant is, will any system we go with, will it help innovate? Will it help expand access to care and healthcare? And I think if we focus on those things, after all, we're all looking for the same entity. How can I bend the cost curve? How can I reduce cost? How can I improve the quality of care? And unless I measure, how would I know? Right. So what would we do in terms of outcomes, and stay focused on how to improve outcomes?
I think too, Suresh, sometimes it's not these gigantic steps forward that we need to take to help solve some of these challenges. Sometimes it makes sense to take small, innovative steps. And I harken back to the experience that you had when you were advising the Clinton Foundation in the mid-2000s. You helped to begin a fertilizer import program for Rwandan farmers, and I can only imagine the change, the dramatic change that made to their lives. Is there something that you're working on, kind of that very innovative, very, almost surgical, precise, addressing a specific problem? Is there something that you're working on right now for the American healthcare consumer that might have the similar kind of drastic change?
Well, we spoke about the common threads. Rwanda takes me a long number of years back. What we were able to accomplish there was quite staggering. And it all started with profound dissatisfaction with the status quo. So it was in a meeting such as this where people were trying to reduce the cost of HIV/AIDS drugs to a country which clearly was in need for having those drugs. But when you peel it back, the question really was, what was the point of delivering drugs if they didn't have clean water to take the drugs with?
Right.
And for an immune deficiency disease, if you had the water and you had the drugs, what was the point if you didn't have enough food? So when we back into it, it seems laudable, it's a huge goal. How can you help Africa feed itself? That's what I started doing.
Right.
But when you peel it back, it is, how can you help deliver seeds and fertilizers to grow that food? And how could you do that? By establishing a public-private partnership, getting the government en bloc, because it's smaller quantities, to buy, and getting private enterprise to supply. And my role within that was facilitating the deals and getting people who look at the same problem with different pairs of eyes to come and collaborate with each other to a common cause. Those teams, do they seem familiar to you with healthcare? Sure. That's precisely what we're talking about. We are unhappy with the status quo. In the case of Rwanda, we had to reduce the price of fertilizers, expand the access to seeds. What are we talking here? Reduce the cost of healthcare here, expand the access to healthcare. So the connections are profound, and it is learning such as that which is a function of all the experiences we all have collectively, which you bring and hopefully influence different players in the healthcare space to work, collaborate, think of it as an ecosystem and move forward.
That's right. So Suresh, I think everything that you've touched on today, it really does reiterate it's not just the right thing to do to put the consumer at the middle of the healthcare delivery and to build it around the consumer. It's the humane thing to do. It also makes so much economic sense. We have so many attendees here at MediFuture who are working to chip away at these challenges. What is it that you see that we're going to have as a takeaway, some of the ahas that you think that we can expect to see from MediFuture, given the attendees that we have?
You know, yesterday I walked through a facility of simulated education to doctors. And that's a great idea. I saw it in practice, and to me, what the net takeaway there was much more than what I saw. It was the ability to train future doctors, current doctors, to reduce variability in the way they deliver care. God forbid you or I go under a knife. The same surgeon may treat you differently, depending on our mood, depending on how you,
it's a human being, not a robot, right?
And at the same time, if we are talking about the healthcare system consistently delivering the same quality, we are talking about standard operating processes and reducing variability. Whether you use words like Six Sigma or otherwise, you want to reduce adverse effects, you need to improve patient outcomes, and you need to enhance consumer satisfaction. And I think what I saw yesterday has all the tools to do that. You will see several innovative companies. The issue is, how does it connect in the ecosystem? How many of these will scale? And to me, as I say, hey, some is not a number, soon is not a time. So get specific. What will happen when? What is the role we each play in moving this forward? And I, for one, I think I'm incredibly fortunate. I moved out of the government, came back to doing what I love. I am committed to doing all that I'll personally be involved in moving healthcare to become much better, not only in this country, but far beyond. And those are the type of projects I work on. And that's what I hope, to be able to continue to influence people who are in this auditorium here, that out of these great ideas, come together and work together to really change an unacceptable status quo.
Well, when you referenced the number of children's lives saved, that is a priceless ROI, isn't it? And I think that, you know, putting the right people in the room to really address these challenges, the ROI is immeasurable. So thank you so much for joining us here today in the GuideWell Insights Lounge. I'm excited to have you participate. I'm excited to have you lead what MediFuture can be here today and beyond. So thanks again, and look forward to seeing you soon. We'll be back with GuideWell Insights Lounge soon.
Thank you.